We are just 4 days, ladies and gentlemen, for the biggest Patriots game in 7 years. A rematch of the 2016 AFC Championship game. Patriots against the Broncos. Something that we have been waiting for months. You've heard me talk trash about the Broncos for months. You've heard Broncos fans talk trash about the Patriots for months. And now that we're going into this game, well, I'm seeing absolute delusion from Broncos fans, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm getting very, very, very tired of the delusion, specifically with the quarterback, because they're talking all Jarrett Stidham, hyping him up and comparing him to a certain scenario that happened 7 years ago, 8 years ago at this point, and it's not even similar. We'll talk about that in a second, but I got a goal for you guys. We are in a sub battle right now with Broncos Breakdown and their host, Trace Moustakis, and I'll tell you every single day that I want to end his season. And we get to talk about it with him tomorrow as we will be live. Joint preview for Patriots and Broncos. But right now, let's get to 44,500 subs. We are 229 subs away. Quick maths for you. So, if you love the Pats, if you want content every single day, if you want to stay up to date, and also don't miss out on our lives, hit that sub button right now. So let's talk about it. The Broncos fans have been comparing Jarrett Stidham to Nick Foles. They have been comparing it nonstop, saying, oh, well, we got a backup quarterback, and the backup quarterbacks have beat the Patriots before. This is the same scenario. It is going to happen again. And what started this? Well, because Nick Foles tweeted out this. After Bo Nix went down, he said, note for Broncos and their fans. I know it has been an emotional 24 hours. I feel for Bo and the team, and I'm sending his prayers for a strong recovery, which I agree with him there. But then he had to add this to it. A positive note going into the game versus the Pats is that they struggle against backup QBs in championship-type games. Yeah, funny. Funny joke, Nick. That's very funny. Yeah, I will still not get over Super Bowl 52. It still haunts me every single day because who is my most hated team? It is not the Broncos. It is not anybody in the AFC East. It is the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't stand them. But going back to comparing Jarrett Stidham to Nick Foles, I cannot express this enough. These two scenarios between Foles and Stidham are night and day. I saw a bunch of Broncos content creators saying that this is going to be better for the Broncos. Are you joking? Are you kidding me? And then I saw Jordan Palmer, Carson Palmer's brother, say that, yeah, well, Jarrett Stidham and Drake May are about the same, and it's driving me nuts. It's not close, and it's not ever going to be close. But let's start with Nick Foles. Let's talk about Nick Foles, because we got to compare the two, because obviously, they keep talking about it over and over and making the same comparisons. So I went and did the math. I looked at the stats that Foles had in his career before the playoff run for Super Bowl 52. His record, 22-17. Then you had 9,752 yards, which is a lot of yards. Over 9,700, 9,000, 61 touchdowns, and 29 interceptions. He had 29 starts in his career before the 2017 playoffs. Before the 2017 playoffs, 29 starts. So I watched the Broncos breakdown, and I watched some of what Moose had to say about it. And he said, well, there's no tape on Stidham right now, which is true. The Pats are going to go off of prior experience with Stiddy. That's an advantage. Well, that was the advantage for the Eagles because prior experience with 29 starts. Well, for Jarrett Stidham, what experience do you have? What experience? This isn't Nick Foles where he has been a starter. He has thrown 7 touchdowns in a game. No, Jarrett Stidham has started in 4 games. And it was just because he was a backup. He wasn't named the starter, unlike Nick Foles, where he has been a starter in his career. 1-3, 1,000 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And not to mention that, Jarrett Stidham has to just wake up. He just woke up one day and was like, oh, I got to start in the playoffs. Oh, man. I guess I got to prepare for this. I'm not ready. I wasn't going into this playoffs thinking that I was going to be the starter. I woke up and next thing I know, Bo Nix broke his ankle. Well, for Nick Foles, it's completely different. Foles started 3 games before the 2017 playoffs. He knew going into that, after Carson Wentz tore his ACL, that he was going to be the starting quarterback. He got to prepare. He got to get ready. He had regular season games before going into the postseason. Totally different. You cannot tell me that someone that has not thrown a pass this season is going to be ready for the AFC Championship game. You cannot tell me that he is going to be absolutely ready. Maybe if he played in a couple of regular season games, thrown a couple passes, I'd argue something a little bit different. But this is the only snap that we have seen Jarrett Stidham play this season. That's a kneel down. That's victory formation. Also, shout out to the top left corner where the Patriots taking down the Cleveland Browns. You guys know how long ago that was. That is Stidham's only time he has seen the ball. And I'll ask you this question. If Drake May went down on Saturday against the Houston Texans and he didn't play any of the game, or Josh Dobbs didn't play any of the Texans game, would you be confident if Josh Dobbs had to go and the scenarios were switched? Would you be confident in Josh Dobbs going into Denver beating the Broncos? I wouldn't. I would not. For a guy who has barely played at all, who has not played a full game this season, hasn't started, I would not be confident. I wouldn't be confident in the slightest. And that's why it should be the same with Stidham, because he has not played a game. If he played games earlier in this year and was the starter for a bunch of times, if Bo Nix got hurt, different story. But he has to step in and be that reliever, something that he has not done in 2 years. So I'm not worried about the quarterback. I am worried about the defense. But you let me know down in the comments section. Are you worried about Jarrett Stidham? Let me know down in the comments section. Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no. Coming up on the back half of the show, Broncos have some injury news that think is going to change the trajectory of the entire game, which we'll talk about in a second because that is why they're still being delusional. But we'll get into that in just a minute. But first, I got to tell you about our sponsor of today's show, and that is Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than on Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is easy to play. Just pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you could cash in. There's also a new feature. Early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And I got a lineup for this weekend's game, and you know I had to add Drake May to it. I got the more on his 199.5 passing yards. I'm not scared of this Denver defense that much. Houston's defense is better. Then I got this one right here. Give me the more on Cooper Kupp at 1.5 receptions, and Devontae Adams. Give me the more on that one at 3.5 receptions. You can download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, let's talk about the latest injury news for the Denver Broncos going into this one. So they have designated running back J.K. Dobbins to return from IR, and they also signed quarterback Ben DiNucci to the practice squad. And I will say, Ben DiNucci, he will be probably the emergency third quarterback. Would not be surprised if we saw Sam Ehlinger play on Sunday because I don't know if Jarrett Stidham is going to be that good. But for J.K. Dobbins, he is their starting running back, and he could return this weekend, which would be big because he is their starting running back. He was on pace for 1,000 yards before getting hurt, and he has played one of the best seasons of his career. 153 carries, 772 yards, 5 yards per carry, only 4 touchdowns, and also a little bit in the air with 11 receptions. But I like to say, even if he plays, I don't think it matters. And maybe I'm the delusional one that is talking like, hey, the running game doesn't matter for the Denver Broncos. Maybe I'm thinking too highly of the Patriots, but I truly don't think that this move matters if he comes back from injury and plays. And why is that? Well, I got 2 big reasons why I don't think this matters. And why is that? Because you have 2 of the best defensive tackles, interior linemen on the board. Christian Barmore and Milton Williams. They are easily the 2 best defensive linemen in the NFL. And, well, it's a wall. This defense is back to being a wall. When? Milton Williams was out. Everybody was running all over this defense. They were allowing like 130 yards per game, and it was not looking good, and you could run through holes of this defense. But then, of course, I went back and watched some of the Broncos breakdown, and host Trace Moustakis was talking about J.K. Dobbins, and he says this will take all the pressure off of Stidham to be excellent. You can fall back on your run game. And oh, Moose, that just tells me you have not watched much of the Patriots playoff games this season, because nobody has been allowed to run against this team. In the 2025 playoffs, the Patriots have allowed 3.1 yards per carry. And no, that is not the average yards in 2 games. That is the total yards. They have only allowed 135 yards on the ground. And when you look at the 2 running backs that the Patriots have gone up against in these 2 playoff games, Woody Marks, 14 carries, 17 yards, 1.2 average. You know, in the game before against the Steelers, he ran for 120 yards, comes back against the Patriots, 17. Then Kamani Vidal, 11 carries for 31 yards. Could not get the game going. You could not get the run game. Nobody's going to be able to have that run game. And when I talk about J.K. Dobbins specifically, he is your downhill runner. He's going to have to go outside. You're going to have to attack the edges, but you are not fast enough to attack the edges. And you know who's really good and picked up a lot is Anthony Jennings. He is a great run defender, and with Harold Landry's knee injury, I think we're going to see a lot more of Jennings, and good luck running the ball on that outside. He says Jarrett Stidham is going to be kind of relying on the run game. Well, that's not going to happen. Jarrett Stidham's going to have to throw the ball because you're not going to establish the run. Since Milton Williams has came back, no team has been able to establish the run. We saw it in the Dolphins game. We saw it against the Los Angeles Chargers, and we saw it against the Houston Texans that highly rely on Woody Marks and Nick Chubb in their game, and they couldn't establish it whatsoever. So, good luck, run game. I'll say this. Good luck. I know the Denver Broncos offensive line is decent, but I'm not worried about it. It is going to have to, what you're going to have to do is let Jarrett Stidham's going to have to beat you in the air. And I don't know if that's physically possible. We'll see. We'll find out in 4 days, but I like the Patriots' chances in this one. If Bo Nix was playing, it'd be completely different. It would be completely different. Hope he's all right, but you have to play with what cards you're dealt with. Are Broncos fans delusional? Because I think they are being extremely delusional. Go down in the comments section, type your D for delusion, or type your N for they're normal. It's just being a fan. Also, while you're down there, hit that sub button. We'll be going live tomorrow. A joint live with Broncos Breakdown. We get to talk all the smack we want because it'll be 3 days until kickoff. So make sure you hit that sub button. And as always, let's go Pats.